Well guys, we've had Season 20 for about 2 weeks now, and I think we can confidently say that the latest patch was a success. Player counts are back up, ranked lobbies are starting to normalize, and while things looked pretty scary for a moment there, I'm happy to announce that Seer is no longer among the most picked legends in the game. The Apex dry spell is over. For now. And ordinarily I'd probably just turn this into a short and end the video right there, but there is something that I want to talk about really quickly, and I hope the devs will agree with me on this one. Straight Shot, the new LTM, is a near perfect mode and should be permanently added to the game. Now this video is probably just going to be me preaching to the choir because my audience is filled with intelligent chads and chadettes that already know what I'm about to say. But especially when it comes to playing solo queue, Straight Shot fixes just about every issue there is with the main battle royale. First of all, and most importantly, you are guaranteed a weapon off drop. I may try to fit in a montage here, but even if I don't, trust me when I tell you that I have enough games landing and finding no gun to fill this entire video with clips of it. The amount of times that I have hot dropped, landed in a spot that I know for sure usually has guns, only to land on 3 different types of ammo, rotate through 2 or more unlooted spots, and still come out with nothing is, to say the least, astounding. There is no worse feeling in Apex than dying off drop knowing that there is literally nothing you could have done about it. It sucks, and it's the reason I think Assault Legends are the best class to play for solo, because you can guarantee yourself a weapon. Straight Shot, though, addresses the problem directly by dropping you into a spot with a loot tick guaranteed to drop enough weapons for everyone on the team to pick up one if they have to. It may not be the one you want, and it doesn't drop ammo, but it means that no matter what happens, you will always have a gun. The mode also has the added bonus that every weapon you pick up comes pre-equipped with attachments. This has 2 benefits. One, the loot pool is much cleaner, and without magazines or those other weapon attachments on the floor, it gives more room for things you actually want to pick up, like backpacks, heals, and optics. And 2, it makes gearing up for the fight way quicker. And this is where the mode solves a huge problem with the traditional battle royale. Oftentimes you have teams where one player loots up quickly, they find what they want and are immediately ready to push, but then their teammates may not be ready at the same time. Granted, part of this could just be that the teammates are slow looters, but in my experience, on the odd occasion that I am the slow looter, the reason usually is that I've landed on borderline unusable weaponry. Call me a scrub, tell me I suck, I don't care. If I land on a G7 with no optic, I am not jumping headfirst into a fight. It basically means that I'm going to be useless to my team. That said, give me the same gun but with an HCOG or even a hollow sight and I'm ready to join the battle. That one detail of putting a sight and a magazine on every weapon instantly changes the value of everything you pick up, because unless it's a sniper with that god-awful 6x scope, every gun you find will at very least be usable. I think we can all agree that putting each team on a fairly level playing field is a good thing for battle royales to do. And that plays into the second way that Respawn has struck gold with this mode. Every drop pits you against exactly one other team. This is huge and solves yet another issue with the normal battle royale. Respawn puts so much work into designing the maps with many POIs and fairly well thought out rotation pathways that are meant to control the flow of traffic while also limiting the number of unavoidable hard choke points, excluding the garbage heap that is Broken Moon. Unfortunately, every map, especially in pubs, has been boiled down to 1 or 2 areas that everyone always lands and dies in. This is the complete opposite of a balanced start. The POIs get flooded with more teams than the loot pool can handle, and half the lobby dies off drop because they couldn't find weapons or heals, or because they got shot in the back by the 5th team showing up to the party. It feels awful, and while I'm not one of those weirdos arguing that third parties in general are bad for the game, I do think that over time, third partying in Apex has gotten way out of control. Handling a 3rd or 4th party is reasonable, but anything beyond that, and you're relying on being the one lucky team that evades enemy focus in order to come out alive. By limiting every POI to 2 teams, Respawn has completely solved this issue. You start off fighting one other team who also landed on weapons just like you, and thanks to the change to Evo shields this season, you even know that your health pools are basically the same. It makes every start balanced, for the most part. I have seen some people complain that there are players that will abandon their original POI after looting up to third-party nearby fights for easier kills. And while I do understand how some players could find this frustrating, you can't get mad at other people for playing smart. The key to winning a battle royale isn't to play fair, but to spin the odds in your favor. So changing your start from a frontal 3v3 to a 6v3 where you shoot one team in the back and take the other out while they're still low is just good strategy. But also, we can't act like that doesn't come with a risk. There's always the chance that the team you left behind can turn this around on you. They could notice what you're doing, chase you down, and shoot you in the back before you can gain the advantage. So it's not just a free win option. Apex Legends is all about weighing your choices and taking risks to come out on top. The difference here is, usually unless everyone in the lobby does this and chooses the same rotation path, the most teams that will end up in that initial fight is 4, which is much more manageable than what happens in the regular mode. And also, since you can loot up faster, you automatically get teammate banners when they're thirsted, and since the lobby is spread out a bit more, you can usually retreat from third parties and regroup much easier than you can in the regular game. So I see this as a net positive overall. And it comes with another benefit. The start with one other team combined with the distribution of players and the smaller map means that most games have constant action all the way through. So you get the same fights off drop with none of the drawbacks of landing with 10 other teams. And you get the space between fights to reset. So for the most part, it gives both aggressive and more passive players a way to play the game how they want with less tension between the playstyles than in the normal Battle Royale. And there's one more thing I really like about this mode that Respawn should take note of. The straight shot gameplay loop is fast, not only because of the constant action and faster ring closure, but also because of one feature that should definitely be added to other modes. Once you win or lose a match, instead of sending you to the lobby, the game offers you the ability to re-queue and jump right back into the action, going straight from one match into another. I love this feature, and I really hope it's one of those things that they're just testing before they add it to the full game. This is just a really nice change for quality of life. It saves so much time to not have to sit through the extra loading screen. You just press a button, wait a minute, and you're right back at the character select. In a fast mode like Straight Shot, this helps to reinforce that just one more game reflex we all get at the end of a match. But even in ranked, it would feel good to not always have to go back to the lobby, especially if you're on a hot streak. You get to keep your momentum and jump right into the next match. And I think for something like the mixtape playlist, an auto re-queue feature just seems like a no-brainer. Even if you've hated everything I've said till now, I think we can all shake hands and agree that the re-queue feature should just be a standard option across all modes. And now, with all this positivity in regard to Straight Shot, some people have argued that it should just outright replace PUBG and that ranked should start every game the same way, but just with more players. And while I understand where this feeling is coming from, I have to say I wholeheartedly disagree. Let's get the easiest part out of the way first. Having predetermined drops in ranked would not be as good as it sounds. To begin with, not all POIs are created equal. Depending on which legend you pick and your team composition, you might want to play the game a certain way. For example, you don't want to pick Catalyst and be forced into a POI with no buildings or blockable doors. But also, you might be playing a recon or controller legend, in which case you'll want to plan your landing around a survey beacon or a rain console. Pathfinder might want to find a POI with more height and maneuverable alleys as opposed to an enclosed space. Losing autonomy with regard to your landing in a ranked match would probably be a bad change overall. There's also the issue that in ranked, that third-party strat everyone seems to hate would become the go-to way of playing. Because when points are on the line, you don't fight fair, you fight to win. And with 20 teams all vying for this strategy, the lobbies would become chaotic and it would hurt the overall flow of matches. Plus, it would be unnecessary. Believe it or not, as you climb ranks in Apex, at least in seasons like this one where the score system isn't broken, people spread out naturally, and you find much more fights made up of 1 to 3 teams at a time, as most will prioritize finding loot and securing a single fight early over dropping with 5 other teams. Well, that's my experience anyway. That said, I am curious if they'll eventually simplify the loot pool so that every weapon comes with the attachments though. They toyed with this idea with a lot of events in the past, and it's not an unreasonable suggestion, but I do think it could create a punishing environment where very good players loot up and push even faster than they already do. So this one I'm not sure about one way or the other. It's a slippery slope. And as for pubs, I'm actually not convinced that replacing it with Straight Shot would be a good idea either, for 2 reasons. One, the pubs mode, even if it is a chaotic, poorly paced mess, still serves as a warm-up zone for some players getting ready to jump into ranked. The reason they're willing to do this is that in terms of mechanics, the modes are effectively the same thing. So even if the playstyle isn't a one-to-one comparison, it does offer some value in that regard. But honestly, this is the more flimsy of the 2 arguments. The second reason, and why I don't think they would ever get rid of the normal pubs for Straight Shot, is that people hate change, especially if that change takes something away. For example, during the Final Fantasy crossover event, there were tons of people complaining that they wanted normal trios back. Some of these are the same people who go around talking about how trios is a garbage mode because it sucks for solos, the matchmaking is terrible, and it isn't any fun. But the moment it was taken away, all of a sudden they got defensive and wanted trios back. Now you could argue that they just didn't like the Buster Sword mode, but from what I've seen, this happens every single time an LTM replaces the normal mode instead of sitting alongside it. And I'm not judging these people, I understand why they react this way. It feels bad for something to be taken away, even temporarily. There are those who like the luck-based chaos of hot drops and those who live for the thrill of that elusive 20 bomb badge. These players would not be happy to lose the trios mode, and I don't think Respawn wants that problem. That said, I don't think anyone would complain if the mode stayed in a side playlist like where it is now. But hey, this is just the opinion of a random guy on the internet. Maybe you completely hate the mode and never want to see it return even in a side playlist. Be sure to let me know how wrong I am in the comments below. Or if you agree with me, leave a comment so we can virtually pat each other on the back. Either way, that's all I had for this one. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.